You're lying on a dining couch at a party in Rome, and you've just made the worst discovery of your entire life. It's not the food, although someone has definitely served flamingo tongue again. No, you've just realized that you're in love with the man on the couch next to you, and that single feeling is about to hand you a lifetime of insane secret rules, career-ending gossip, a marriage you never asked for, actual black market witchcraft, and if you're unlucky enough to live long enough, a brand new law that wants you dead. So put down the flamingo tongue. Let's start your life over from the beginning so you can see exactly how you ended up here. You're born around 330 AD in a modest house in Rome, and you get handed the two best gifts a Roman baby can receive. You're male and you're free. Congratulations. In Rome, a freeborn boy's body is legally sacred. There's even a dusty old law, the Lex Scantinia, that says anyone who lays a hand on a freeborn youth commits a crime. Nobody's entirely sure what the punishment is because the law is mostly used as a political grenade to lob at your enemies in court. But still, protection is protection. Enjoy it. It's the last time the Roman legal system will ever be on your side. Because along with that protection comes the rulebook. Nobody hands it to you, nobody writes it down, but by the time you're old enough to wrestle in the yard, you know it in your bones. A Roman man conquers. Always. In business, in war, in the courts, and yes, in the bedroom. A Roman man is never soft, never yielding, never conquered. The moment you're seen as the conquered one in anything, you stop being a man in Rome's eyes. You become a punchline. Remember this rule. It's going to ruin your life. You come of age, and here's where things get complicated. Because you've noticed something about yourself. You're not interested in the girls your mother keeps not so subtly seating next to you at dinner. You're interested in men. And here's the twist nobody tells you about ancient Rome. That by itself is not the problem. Rome doesn't even have a word for gay. Romans don't sort people into gay and straight. They sort people into conquerors and conquered. A Roman man can desire other men all day long, and society will barely blink as long as he follows the fine print. And oh, the fine print? You can only be with men who are socially beneath you. Slaves, freedmen, prostitutes, men who don't count in Rome's cold arithmetic. Another free citizen? Your equal? The man you actually love? Completely off limits. In Rome, you're allowed to want men. You're just never allowed to love one. You're in your early 20s now, and you learn what happens to men who break the rule book, because Rome runs on one currency more valuable than gold: reputation. And Rome's favorite hobby is destroying it. There's a word, cinaedus, and it is the nuclear bomb of Roman insults. It means a man who submits to other men, a man who let himself be conquered, and once it sticks to you, it never washes off. The poets Martial and Juvenal built entire careers roasting men like this. Down in Pompeii, before the volcano got them, someone literally carved into a wall: Nisia, cinaedus, and crapper. That's it. That's the message. Some Roman was so committed to calling his neighbor a submissive filth man that he chiseled it into stone forever. That's not gossip. That's gossip with a masonry budget. And don't think power protects you, because it didn't protect Julius Caesar. Yes, that Julius Caesar. As a young man, he spent a little too long at the court of King Nicomedes of Bithynia, and Rome decided it knew exactly why. For the rest of his life, the man who conquered Gaul, who crossed the Rubicon, who ran the entire Roman world, got called the Queen of Bithynia behind his back. His own soldiers sang songs about it during his triumphal parade. Caesar conquered Gaul, but Nicomedes conquered Caesar. Let that sink in. The most powerful man in Roman history couldn't stop a rumor. And it's not just Caesar. Roman politicians hurl these accusations at each other like javelins. One senator gets nicknamed every man's wife. Others get dragged into court under that dusty old Lex Scantinia, not because anyone cares about the law, but because the accusation alone is a career ender. In the Senate, cinaedus isn't an observation, it's a weapon system. So if that's what they do to consuls and generals, a nobody with a leaky roof in the Suburra, you have no chance. In Rome, a sword can only kill you once. A rumor kills you every single day. You're 25 now, and your father sits you down for the conversation. Not that conversation, the Roman one. It's time to marry. A nice girl from a nice family, good dowry, get some heirs going. And here's the thing, you can't say no. There is no path in Rome where you don't marry a woman. Same-sex marriage doesn't exist here. It isn't banned, exactly, it's worse than banned. It's unthinkable. The only Roman who ever tried it was the Emperor Nero, who held a full mock wedding and even played the bride, and all of Rome treated it as the scandal of the century, proof that the man was insane. If an emperor can't get away with it, you certainly can't. So you stand in front of the altar, you marry a stranger named Claudia, and you begin the great Roman tradition of living two lives at once. Everyone in Rome wears a mask. Yours is just heavier than most. You're in your 30s now, and this is the part they never put in the history books because they burned it or never wrote it down: the sneaking. Your real life, the one with him in it, happens in the gaps. A private room at the baths, a dinner party that runs late, a friend's country villa where nobody asks questions. You can never touch him in public. You can never stand beside him at a festival the way Claudia stands beside you. And don't come at me with, but what about Emperor Hadrian? Yes, 2 centuries before you, Hadrian loved a young man named Antinous so openly that when Antinous drowned in the Nile, the emperor cried in public, named a city after him, and had him declared an actual god. Statues everywhere. But that's the whole point. Hadrian could do that because he was the emperor. He owned the rulebook. Grief like his gets a city, grief like yours gets a locked door and a lie for Claudia. And you're one of the lucky ones. If you'd been born a woman who loved women, Rome wouldn't even bother persecuting you. It would simply refuse to believe you exist. The poet Ovid called love between women unheard of, which is Roman for, we've decided this doesn't happen. Please stop happening. Rome doesn't just hide love like yours. It erases the paper it was written on. You're pushing 40 now, and the loneliness starts doing strange things to people like you. You hear whispers about it at the baths that down in Egypt there are magicians who sell love spells, and some of them work on anyone. And this is real. Archaeologists would later dig up an actual spell from a woman named Heris, begging the gods of the underworld Anubis himself to bind another woman, Serapius, to her in love. Centuries later, a man named Apollo commissions a charm to make a man named Flo unable to sleep, unable to stand still, wandering from town to town until he finds him. Sit with that for a second. These are real people, so completely locked out of ordinary love, no courtship, no marriage, no future, that their best remaining option was summoning the god of the dead to play matchmaker. When the front door of love is bricked shut, people will crawl through the underworld to reach the window. You're in your 50s now, and you've done everything right. You followed the rule book, you married Claudia, you raised heirs. You kept him a secret for 30 years, and honestly, you're starting to think you might just make it to the end of this thing quietly. And that is exactly when Rome changes the rules. Because a new religion has been climbing the ranks your entire life, Christianity, and now it's not a fringe cult anymore. It runs the empire. And the new Christian emperors look at Rome's old, weird, insult-based system of managing men like you, and they decide it's not nearly harsh enough. And here's the bitter irony. Old pagan Rome, for all its cruelty, at least had one principle. A writer named Aulus Gellius once put it plainly, it was an injustice to force yourself on a free person. The old Rome punished you with insults and left the courts out of it. The new Rome is done with insults. First, male prostitution gets banned. Then the laws stop caring about tops and bottoms, conquerors and conquered, all the old fine print you spent a lifetime memorizing. The new laws just care about what you are. And then, in the year 390, the words come down from the emperors themselves. Men who lie with men shall be punished by avenging flames. Not exile, not a fine, fire, in public. You spent 50 years mastering a rulebook, and Rome just threw the whole book away. Turns out the only thing worse than Rome's rules is Rome with no rules at all. So now you're an old man, and you live the way hunted things live. The dinner parties are gone, the baths are being watched, the new priests call them dens of sin. Every knock on the door makes your heart stop, because informers get rewarded now, and half of Rome would sell their own grandmother for a reward. The man from the couch, all those years ago, you stopped meeting, it was too dangerous for him, you told yourself. One evening, you hear that a man from your street, a quiet fellow you'd nodded to for 20 years, was dragged out and burned in front of a cheering crowd, and you realize the crowd contained his neighbors, his customers, his friends, and you spend your last years the way you spent your first ones, pretending. You die in your bed, an old married man, respected, unremarkable, mourned by children who never knew you. Claudia buries you with full honors. And the one person who actually knew you, really knew you, doesn't attend the funeral. Because even standing too close to your tomb might raise questions. Your love story doesn't get an ending. It doesn't even get to be a story. Rome kept its final promise. You were never here. And here's the truly dark part. The empire that burned men like you would collapse within a century, but its laws wouldn't. Justinian would double down, declaring all of it against nature and worthy of death. And those words would echo through legal codes for over 1,000 years after Rome itself was rubble. But hey, at least you weren't stuck cleaning Rome sewers while all this was going on. Actually, you know what? Go watch that video. Because somehow, that guy might have had it even worse.